Okay, we're gonna do this.
Hey, Matt. It's been a
Okay,
technical day.
it's been a technical couple days. So I want to start with thank you to everyone that came out to Silk and Steel, the amazing 2-day workshop in Oakland with great masters, Wudong West's Deep Root Center for Spiritual Arts, King Kong Palm that was put on by them, YAMA System, and the great Marilyn Cooper was there. Tai Chi, combat stuff. I just had a big release today. So I just released a slow kicking workshop with Project Vandaloop, all the dancers.
Woohoo. Oh, nice.
I just released the falling sequence. Like, a lot of people are afraid to learn to fall, but this is this was even for elderly or anyone that's never fallen, how to strengthen the right muscles just to protect you if you do fall. So it's like core work and stuff like that. That just went up on the site. And then a new Badwan Jin that I just did because I did a 2-3 week layover in Hawaii up on a cliff in a beautiful home. So that was nice. And so I just released all that stuff. And then there's 2 more workshops being released, and then customer journeys, and then a whole new business is coming up for teacher training. So all of that being said, I am now in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, I'm
with a
ready
lot
for
of
summer. Ready for summer.
Yeah. And how are you?
Good. Yeah, just continuing to noodle in study and practice. You know how it is. Study and practice. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the 5th moon, which begins on Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to tell everyone is get your astrology reading from Scott. Go on my site. I'm doing privates again, and Journal Journey 2.0. And like I said, what's this work without a call to action? The call to action is support the people that are helping you out. And all right. So we're in a metal horse moon, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're going to from a snake. So the the element of the summer season in the cosmology of the Tongshu, which is the Chinese cosmology, of the 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. The element of the summer season is fire, right? So that's the idea that this is the season of fire, right? This is fire season. Elementally, and the fire season starts with the snake and ends with the horse. So of the 2 summer moons, technical, like full-on summer moons, starts with the snake, ends with the horse. And so it's considered to be those are the 2 moons of fire. So a yin fire and then a yang fire. So yang fire moon is the horse moon and represents the kind of most intense flavor of ascending yang qi in the ecosystem, right? So summer in the Chinese cosmology and the cosmology of the Tongshu, summer is a very short but intense kind of sprint. You should think of it like a sprint, like a really strong sprint, but short. Like the season of yang is when it's like completely in sort of its fullness is roughly 6 weeks, to make an impact. So it's not particularly long because yin and yang in the cosmology of the Tongshu are not equal. They're not equal. So we're mostly living in a world of yin that every year yang comes along and punches it and like moves everything into fulfillment, right? So it transforms one sense of appearance into another sense of appearance. And so you can take advantage of that by planting seeds and growing things and then being able to harvest, right? So that's the whole principle, general principle in yin and yang's interaction throughout the year. And so this is this short sprint. So the idea of the short sprint, if you think about sprinting, you should have a lot of stretching and preparation on the front end and a whole lot of cool down on the back end, right? To maintain like kind of optimal health in our body. So you can still sprint without stretching or cooling down, but it doesn't bode well for your body in the long run, right? So this is a perfect analogy in terms of how we should be handling, or what the recommendation is for handling the intensities of summer in the cosmology of the Tongshu. So the third and the fourth moon are like are essentially the stretching and preparation bit. The third moon being authenticating our inspirations. What kind of race do I want to run? Like, do I really feel it? As something that will bring satisfaction. And then the fourth moon is basically putting it together, and getting your routines down, your training, all of that, like in the preparation, good management of resources, etc. And then you get to the fifth moon, and the fifth moon is basically the sprint. So that begins on Thursday. So it's in a tremendous.
So we're in the fifth moon. Can I say something?
On Thursday. Yeah.
Talk to us. When you say the fifth moon, we have no idea what we're talking about. The metal horse moon. That's what
the reason why I
right?
say, we're talking about the metal horse moon. Metal horse is a modification of what we're talking about. So in order to understand any modification, you have to understand what it is. What is the fifth moon? And the fifth moon is not just, in the West, we focus a lot on details. The fifth moon means this,
I'm sorry, I never want to fight like that again. Sorry, that was a vicious. That was the most
a vicious attack.
That was Scott and mine's biggest fight.
Well, it is a dog day, so I'm here to forgive you, Dragon.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah, so but it's a really important thing to mention because, I've had to do this as somebody who's grown up in a Western tradition and then trying to internalize and practice this calendar. We get focused on the details. And so we think about the drawbacks of the metal horse, of which there are some. But I think, just taking your point, what's the positive thing you can do? That's obviously what I want to emphasize, the kind of positive things you can do in order to navigate a metal horse moon. But in order to do that, you have to understand what the fifth moon actually is, and then see the modification of that, right? So that's why I'm emphasizing so much in the preparation bit, because if you prepared and had good guidelines, established, and routines about what it is you want to fulfill, because the summer is the season of fulfillment. It's a season of bringing completion forward. That's what we're here for. We're here to get something done, and that's what the horse moon is all about. Because the horse moon isn't double checking. It's too late. It's too late.
So so what you would say is it about starting projects? Was it about finishing projects? It's just finishing, about doing stuff towards finishing.
Yeah, finishing. I mean, at its apex, yang fire doesn't listen to reason. So we have to have that already established. We have to have some kind of training already established for the horse moon to be effective. Otherwise, if you're going off the rails and you're trying to figure it out as you go along, you can do that, but it's like sprinting without having stretched, Yeah.
I would say a theme for that also would be when you were talking about the training and this is the doing. It's kind of, I remember learning to work with toddlers and talking to some Montessori teachers, and then even in martial arts, for a long time, you'll learn to use a tool like footwork, but then now you're in the fight. So you go in and now you're using the footwork inside the chaos, but you're using this one tool, and hopefully you train this one tool really, really, really well to be creative with it inside action. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. It's a metal horse moon, right? Yeah. So it brings a kind of refinement. It does bring a little bit of hesitation, and that's okay. So in some sense, yes, there is an application bit of what you learned, right? Because it's not gonna go exactly as you planned. And you shouldn't expect that, all the preparation is just so you can adapt. As I like to tell clients, you can you can practice and you can prepare all you want. You can even do it in perfect timing and still fail. Like that's actually, this system is remarkably like can be very precise, and it can be very empowering in many ways, but it's no guarantees. Like there's so many other cofactors that go into any aspiration and what you want to do with other people.
Well, I decided to talk with some folks out here about failure and rejection and all those things.
Yeah.
And from the artist's point of view, and it's cliche to always say there's no failure, only feedback. There's no failure, only feedback. There's no failure, only feedback. But to practice that is a whole different thing. And so when I was doing, I had an old student that had you and I both know him. He's been with the open mat since he was a child, and we were talking about that as well, about when there is a quote failure, look at it as an artist as like, okay, so this thing happened, so what do I know now that I didn't know then? Even in a success, like what do I know now? What can I do differently? Like there's no problem. It's just like, I tried this, it didn't work, so now what do I know? Okay, because the thing is you're unwinding your ignorance. Okay, so I tried this, that didn't happen. Okay, let me go back and make one change. Okay, now I tried that didn't happen. Let me go back. It's like, let me rebuild it. Maybe it's not my thing, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because that's the animistic path, I would call. Like it's the path of dialogue, like it's the path of reciprocity. It's the path of like feeling it out, throwing things up on the wall, see what sticks. That didn't work. Let me try it again. And it's this kind of back and forth thing. I think that this is a really important time of year to get close in on what our expectations are about what fulfillment means, because we can't avoid it. It's going to be like really in our face. This sense of satisfaction and fulfillment is going to be very, very close. And this calendar is not from a transcendent tradition. Like we're not qualifying out of where we are. We're always in this place of reciprocity and there is no end, like there is no final fulfillment. There's no like, you did it right, kid, big reward, it's like, it's just all the cycle, right? So you have this, you have this moment in the year where you have this like big capacity for movement, big capacity for huge capacity for transformation. This particular moon, like this is the American moon, this is like, there's nothing I could say that would stop you even if I wanted to. Like you're going forward no matter what, right? Like, and that's actually what the calendar calls for. It's not holding back anymore. It's going forward, right? The only way out is through. It's just, the reflection is that your level of success is directly contingent on how well you've prepared. And that's really the best reflection I can give for the fifth moon. And that's especially true when it comes to a metal horse moon, which is going to have a lot of thinking ideas about what's great, but they're going to be largely filled with tangents potentially, right? So like if you are trying to start something new, or you think I can do that, you might want to slow down. Like, have you prepared for it? Like, have you actually done the groundwork necessary to get it moving? Or are you just, grasping at straws? Like, that's definitely a possibility, with this moon. So there's nothing wrong with that. And it may even work, it would just be very strenuous, to actually push it across the finish line, but that might just be your fate, to do that. Right. So like, it's what I mean about a lot of the cofactors involved here. For all of us, it is a matter of everything just being kind of thrown up against the wall and seeing what sticks, But I do feel like the matter of our success is very much contingent on this kind of sense of preparation and capacity for, reciprocity and contribution to something a little bit bigger than what we just what we want. There has to be some sort of sense of contribution and reciprocity. I mean, the biggest question in the fifth moon, I think, that I want to put out there is that can we actually assimilate everything that we do? Are we just accumulating like a never-ending list of unfinished business? Like, because that actually clogs up our capacity, for satisfaction. And that's what we should
ask you.
Which part?
Assimilation. I know the word, but okay. The process
like
of taking in and fully understanding information. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like eating.
I knew that. I knew that.
It's like, remember when we were talking about appetite early in the year? What's your actual appetite? Like, this is the time of the year where we should start to feel like satisfaction. So I think that there's a simple test, for how and where we are, throughout the course of this moon that I would offer everybody, which is when you get to the end of the day, how satisfied do you feel? Like, do you feel satisfied? And like, why not? And if you're like, so I know this happens for me. I have a big list of things that I really think are important. And it's like all of these kinds of imperatives, right, that stress me out. And I think that we should carefully examine those things, or just kind of back up on them. Is our imperatives stressing us out? Or are they bringing us to a place of satisfaction where we can actually feel maybe some even contentment? We should feel into that. Do we have that capacity? Do we see that in our lives every day? It's like, I made a nice meal. I ate the meal and I'm like, man, that was delicious. Like having just those kinds of experiences. And even that's it, like, well, I ate, 2 really good meals today and I got a good walk in. Yes. Like, it can be pretty small, but if you're having, and there's nothing wrong with small or big, the same, in terms of what it does for our physiology during this time of year, that sense of satisfaction and feeling complete in the day, I think is, you should track that every day. Just track it. Yeah.
I was talking to not a client, but I'm always talking to people in this business, and someone was saying, the thing they'd mentioned how I'm always like very highbrow, like everything that I say requires a lot of thought. Because they were like, "What's your tagline? What do you do?" And I go, "Well, I train people for 2 moments: when they go to bed and when they wake up. Those are, I think, the 2 most important moments." And because like when you go to bed at night, no matter how you've justified what you do, you will lay in bed with your thoughts, give or take. If you went to bed drunk, fell asleep, or you're watching TV till you go to bed or whatever. But sometimes we're doing that to get rid of those thoughts. Yeah. And then when you wake up, you're going to feel a certain way. And sometimes we never really notice like how our body feels, but those are your 2 most authentic moments, right? And so how does your body feel? And then how does your body and emotions change when you think of the things that you need to go do that day, right? Or do you take a moment to like realign and all that stuff? And I think it's a really fun. Those are the only 2 moments that I think, as far as like what I train for. Some trainers are like, I'm getting you ready for shirt off at the pool, right? But I'm like, I just want your mind and your body to be strong. And so when you lay in bed at night, what are the thoughts going through your head? How does your body feel? And then when you wake up, how does your body feel? You creaking and cracking, all that stuff. And then, and so it's very similar. Like, are you fulfilled? And and who are you? And even if you're laying next to someone, you're still laying there in your thoughts. And I think it's a kind of a powerful meditation.
Yeah. I agree. Actually, those 2 experiences this moon for me have naturally been like 2 of my most important. Like how. I mean, and then that's also part of the practice, the Xiandao practice that Ming left behind, was to examine and prepare for sleep. Like how you prepare for sleep and what you do after waking up. Actually, really formative, for how you navigate the day. Because in some sense, you might have a formal meditation practice. All right. You might have a formal meditation practice, but everything you do is an informal meditation practice. Like everything else is part of the same practice. It just happens to be informal. And then the formal sense you're trying to sit there formally, stay still and shut the hell up, or whatever, like whatever the practice is, constructive or conceptual or non-conceptual, but like everything else is an informal practice. So I've been, that's something that's been really strong for me. This moon, being a snake moon, is just those like very simple elemental things. So those are all like great forms of preparation, in terms of like being able to sense in your body and in your experience, like when you have satisfaction from doing something, or frustration. And I fully expect that everybody's going to have all of those things, as you go into it, because, this height of fire, in the Chinese cosmologies is an excellent time for bringing forward abundance, and also a very good time for completely devastating your resources. Like that's critical. That's why they consider the fire season to be so critical and the most dangerous time of year. Because we can utilize this resource, this vitality, to grow all the food we need to eat for the rest of the year, or we can overuse the vitality to destroy everything that we have. Like that's really the crux of our life at this time of year in our relationship to yang. So it's no joke.
Will you fix your ear things? I think your hood is scratching on them.
I'll just take it down.
Or fix your hood.
You could do that.
Okay, who's cut out with it? Who's cut out for this? Who's the buried or married? Who's down for whatever moon that we got going on?
Like last moon, I'm going to go by trines. So the trine of the domestics, which are your pigs, goats, and your rabbits, they're still in a risky place. They're less risky than the snake moon. It's a little less risky. It's a little more straightforward, forward going.
You're a pig. What are you doing about it?
I'm gonna try not to get run over, which is really the deal. Like the metal horse is good for me. I'm a metal pig, so I can get in with the refinement aspect. Also, even a reduction of our aspirations, meaning that like I might have 4 things to do, but if I get to 2 of them, I'm Gucci. Like I'm good. Like I don't have to worry. I'm not stressing about not getting to the other 2, right? So it's the appreciation of the simple tasks that add up, right? So I think that domestics can do that. So they should be, in some ways, they should embrace that, not get like, drawn into this narrative that the more they do, the better. Like a horse season is a time for multitasking, so everybody wants to do 4 or 5 things all at once. And I think that will bring difficulty, if we do that, if anybody does that in this season, because it's a metal horse, there'll be some kind of internal conflict about that. So I feel like the domestics can align themselves with the sort of the hesitation that the metal horse actually brings, but they should still like sort of regulate their behavior. Same thing with rats and dogs. Dogs, this is probably their best time of year in some respects, but it's going to depend on the pack that they have. It's going to depend on, so they shouldn't necessarily want to reach outside, of this kind of contingency of close associations that they have, because it's still a dragon year, right? Some of the fixed element, like your snakes and your oxen, and the roosters, there's still peril for everyone. Only the strongest, like your ox, probably not even going to notice. They're just going to keep moving right through without really deviating all that much, but they should still watch their pace. Snakes can do very well in this. I don't think they're going to be all that worried. But accident for them and for roosters are possible, and even an ox, but they may shrug it off. your powerful ones, like your monkeys and your dragons can really utilize this chi pretty well. Some of the things that they have to look out for is the expectations they have of other people, as we mentioned, as we were talking about in our conversation yesterday, because not everybody's going to be, especially in a metal horse moon, everybody's going to talk a good game, but fifth moon to me is put up or shut up. So if you can't, you shouldn't, and don't try. Like actually, really, you might need to reduce your aspirations a bit, and like actually coming closer to what you can actually do instead of like thinking, I can be there. No, 6 o'clock a.m. Yeah, you bet. And then they don't wake up till 7:30, because they're burning the candle at both ends. It's like those kinds of things, those sorts of events that should call for a pulling back. And that you might find in something like a tiger, or even horses. Horses right now, if they've got way too many things on their plate, they should condense maybe just a little bit. Something you can do really well and reliably is actually a better thing for horses and for tigers, because they have the power and they're going to feel kind of supercharged. Everybody's going to get a little bit of supercharge going on, because they're feeling the vitality come forward. But it's a metal horse, so kind of stay close to home. That's what I would say. And by close to home, what do you have established? You have something established. You have something meaningful established. It could be. I think that one of the best things you can do to avoid getting sick or getting into an accident is basically approach the fifth moon like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's and find inspiration in like those simple things, and look for satisfaction. Look for satisfaction in what you do. And it would be really, I think it would be a really good time, because we're not like completely overextended and multitasking in a way that we're just kind of like on autopilot. We can actually assimilate, digest the things we do, and like feel a sense of purpose in it. Because as we mentioned in a conversation yesterday, like, why do they call it the dog days of August or the dog days of summer? Because summer is August is late summer, is considered late summer. And what happens is, if you don't regulate yang in the season well now and give it the parameters for feeling success and feeling fulfillment, if you don't give it what it needs to actually make abundance, then it doesn't want to retire. It doesn't want to step down.
Yeah.
And it becomes toxic as a seasonal thing. It becomes very, very toxic. So we can influence that by our own behavior. We can watch other people get toxic in August and just be like, hey, like I'm settled and like I feel fulfilled and now I'm just enjoying, like we can do those things. And it's a caution, let's put it that way, when we get into the transition from when summer ends into fall, it could get pretty volatile, in terms of how yang steps down. So it's really about how we behave now that helps determine how well yang can retire feeling satisfied. So rolling back on this kind of daily affirmation of like, I'm good. Like I had a good day, like basic things, doesn't really have to be that hard. We should be very simple in our behavior. Very, very simple. Make it simple. There's a lot of inspiration.
It's
simplicity.
When you talk about the American moon, it reminds me of when I was learning about healing arts. We'd talk about a couple concepts that they would say, this isn't American foreign policy. They'd always say it's not your job to go in to a person's body or life and then break them open and show them and just like like dive in with the truth and the training and the show them the, and then just go in, you're welcome, you're free, and then leave. Right. That's why I don't do a lot of like deep, I mean, I do workshops, but it took me a long time to find a voice in a workshop, because it's not like, that's why I don't like a lot of the medicine things, because it shows you this thing, but then you're back into life, and it's like, what is the follow up, right? And that's where Kundalini syndrome and all these like really, really hardcore, like people walking around wounded and open, and they just open too much, right? There's that side of it. And so I feel that there's something very powerful on like simplicity and kind of what you're saying about just going into these things with like to remember like rest and appreciation is just as much of a skill and a project and an art form as is building something or learning coding. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel anytime that I want to add something more to my plate, I actually add more like time to tune in and bring it down, because just the energy level, just the baseline energy level is so high all the time right now. And I mean, even in places that that seem pretty mellow, it's like, no, it's not.
Expectations are enormously high, you know, in our society at large. It's ridiculously high, you know, especially in the healing communities. They're just like, you're trying to heal both your life and all your ancestors. No, it doesn't really work like that. Like, I mean, you can't just line thousands of people up and like hit them with a magic wand and like and heal them with your behavior. It's not the Confucian way, you know. Like you gotta leave something for somebody else.
The other side of it is also our judgments, which is sometimes wrapped around guilt of privilege and survivor's guilt, but you will oftentimes meet, and I'm sure you have met people that we benefit all the time from people that did horrific acts.
That's right. That's right.
And we want them to now step down, right? Whether it's your parents, you want them to get off your back, but you're living off, you know, but it's like, I know a lot of people that if it wasn't for their trust funds, they wouldn't have been able to do the thing, but they're also annoyed that their parents want them to not let their freak flags fly, you know? And we benefit from things that came out of some pretty horrific things on a regular basis. And we want those things to step down, but they're not going to until we actually say, okay, you got us here now. Thank you. We benefit from this, but now we can do it. I do this with my martial arts teachers, and I met some martial arts teachers this weekend, and they obviously learned from very sadistic teachers. And it's not our job to carry on that tradition of abusing our students. It's our job to know that, thank you, you got us to this point, but now we can actually get people further along without actually abusing them. We've learned that you don't have to spar hard and damage each other in order to learn what it's like to fight. You can actually go slower, and you can actually do more focused drills, and you can get people to a higher level without need for beating them up.
Yeah.
But our teachers, but it doesn't mean we need to disrespect our teachers. We respect our teachers by saying, thank you, you got me here. Thanks for beating the crap out of me.
Right.
I don't want to put anyone else through that.
Yeah. Well, it's a generational thing, right? Like even just thinking about martial arts as an art, right? Like no martial artist out there that I know has like run out onto a battlefield and killed a bunch of people. And like that's what it was for when it came when we first started doing it as human beings. And like now it's in other things. There's lots of rituals that still exist around. There's a lot of rituals that still exist around warfare and killing other human beings systemically that can be addressed. But when it comes to like these martial arts kinds of things, that's true. Like we can, and the invitation is always there, you know, to take it to another place in terms of what is the value of the art now, you know, as opposed to even just 50 years ago, or even opposed to like 50 years ago, even 10 years ago, when, you know, or 20 years ago when MMA started. Like, where has that gotten us, right? Like it seems like a tangent, right? In terms of what the actual arts are offering.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. And that to me, it is very rich time of year, because since this isn't a transcendent tradition, like, and that's our assumption, being in a transcendent culture, right? So our assumption is that there will be some final healing, some final accomplishment that will really, make us famous, push us over the top, whatever the goal is, whatever the marker is. And I think that there's an invitation right now, especially right now, to reconsider, a lot the imperatives of a lot of those things. When people used to talk about, well, if you don't have any goals, you don't have any purpose in your life. Like, okay, let's back up on that, like, and talk about what goals actually are and what you mean when you say goals, and what are all the myriad of the cosmological assumptions behind that. I think it can be very toxic and exacerbated in this moon if you have that kind of, I'm defined by my goals and I will achieve them. There's a great recipe for abuse, not only of yourself, but of the people around you and the resources that you're privileged to have at your disposal. And so this is the kind of toxic capacity that Yang has, which is it's only focused on achievement. It's not focused on relatedness. It's not Does not full of consideration for yin is what the text would call it. It's a respect and a consideration for yin. So you often define yang as something that forces or pushes fulfillment, pushes transformation of one appearance of yin into another. And that's true. But how it pushes, it can be almost like an invitation. It's like trying to walk grandma out to the car. You're not pushing grandma into the back seat, but you are kind of guiding her toward the car and not toward the bus, right? So, or just to the middle of the street. So there's a caring aspect there that needs to be in place for yin. When we discuss this, when we discuss good resource management, what we're talking about is like caring for yin. And then yin will just open up and give you everything you want. Then grandma's like, you were so nice to me to hear, here, like I left you my house, like whatever, like there's a relatedness there because yang in its power, in its sense of authority, is also respectful, listening, to relatedness. And this was a very big thing for us to have developed last moon, and the snake moon is really important, to have that sense of respect, for our resources and the opportunity, the privilege that we have to pursue fulfillment of any kind. Like life is a privilege. Get up, eat, sleep. So now when we get to the fifth moon, it's kind of like a follow through. If we can utilize this sort of orientations, we can follow through. We can experience great abundance. That's the kind of you can feel all the nuances of life, based out of just that experience of following through. It doesn't have to be anything necessarily very epic. It can be very calm, and like just life affirming, and like actually feel very glad, and that's when you have nurtured yin within. And when the whole world's on fire and filled with yang, inside you're feeling glad, like, and grateful of being alive. This is the opposite of the middle of winter, right? When you've got yang inside as like a little burning ember and all of the world is cold and dark, right? So it actually produces the same thing, a sense of like gladness and feeling of being alive. So they mirror each other, right? So it really is that kind of like, respect, for our surroundings, and participation and collaboration and consideration and contribution, all these really amazing words of working together, teamwork, pulling as a team, like a team of horses instead of just this one wild pony, like we can really actually do something amazing together. And it takes a lot, to bring people together in that way. So I don't know if that's where we are as a culture that we can, you know, sort of bring ourselves into that place. But it's being done, you know, here and there, right now between us and all the different alliances that we build. And so that's where it gets really rich. But in our own experience, it really does come back to that sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. You know, can you be satisfied at the end of every day instead of like, I got 4 or 5 things I really need to get done tomorrow, and then stressing yourself out. Can't sleep, get up early, don't eat breakfast, have 2 cups of coffee. Like, whoa, dude, slow down. Like, you're setting yourself up for a kind of toxic condition in the fall. That's the idea. Like,
Hmm.
so get that rest, find a way to feel complete, nourish yin before you go to bed. Yeah, nourish your yin. Like get the gratitude back, get the kind of flexibility back, relax, like nurture yin, then go to sleep. That's where yin's at, right?
Hmm.
And try it again tomorrow. So that's what I would say. It's a delicious, amazing, fun, uh, very vibrant, exuberant time. Go places, do things, you know, like it's a time to circulate and like do something, get something done. It's a good time for it.
Yeah, lots of things. Well, thank you. I'm gonna give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, go to the yamasystem.com. I think everyone should at least try the 2 weeks free.
Yeah,
And then a lot of you guys have done the 15 minutes free call. There's all kinds of stuff that we can talk about, whether it's
15 minutes.
journaling,
That's a
getting that
long
right.
ass time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's I've met so many cool people. It's not even about selling anything. It's about meeting people that are engaging with this kind of work. Because not
Who
everyone
wants to
needs
talk to me
to
for
learn
15 minutes?
online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't all need to learn online. Like the idea is that we all have something to share, and I don't know.
Hmm.
I just like meeting people that are engaging with the stuff. So thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Thank you,
yeah,
Matt.
I'll call you in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, look out
Ciao.
again. There's huge open new releases like crazy, and a new business with some of my favorite martial arts soulmates
Sweet.
coming
I'm
up.
really looking forward to
That's
that.
gonna
That's gonna be
be
super cool. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was just in the Bay Area for, teaching workshops doing that and new alliances and oh, cool. And I guess that's what this moon's about, right? Like getting we're finishing projects. Last month
Finish
was
it.
sorry we
Yeah.
missed last month, dude, by the way, but we sometimes I do because I'm only one guy. So cool.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah. See you.